Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Strong coming to you with, I believe this is the fourth teaching of the teaching series on Lynchism. It's time to heal and what we must do. Before I get started, I want to talk about, I talked about it a little while ago, but I want to talk about it a little more. The Jacob Blake incident. And what I want to say is that shooting was so unnecessary, so unnecessary. Even if he had not obeyed the orders that he was being given, there was no need to shoot the man 7 times in the back in front of his children. I want Black people to wake up and understand the attack that is against us as a people. It's so evident, but somehow we're not paying attention to it. We need to start paying attention to the annihilation that is planned. If we could just get it through our heads that there was a slave mentality handed down and a slave owner mentality handed down. And what I mean by that is the slave owner mentality handed down a mentality of control. And that mentality of control has created a system that you cannot penetrate. Their money is more powerful than you. Their weapons are more powerful than yours. Their numbers outnumber you. You will not penetrate that system, so we're going to have to isolate ourselves and strengthen ourselves, strengthen each other, and make this Black community that has its own superiority, that is self-sufficient. That way, you can't be denied resources if you're a part of this country. Even if you had several states, you couldn't be denied resources. And you'd be better off teaching each other, loving each other, strengthening each other, on each other's side. I want to now get into the book. That was my rant for the day. But I want to finish the introduction, hopefully, and then get into the Lynch letter. If I don't get into the letter today, that is where we will start next time. And it is very important to learn that letter. And so I go on with the introduction to say, for far too long, we have been systematically taught to hate, envy, and mistrust each other simply because of our color. Now, I said that in the last one, but I wanted to preface this with that. This is the brainwashing of Willie Lynch, and it has to come to an end. It's got to. Nobody can end this for us but us. We have to end this. And we're going to learn how to do that. We cannot continue the path we as African Americans are traveling and expect to heal as a race. I hope you heard that line. Just as things have been systematically instilled in us, they must be systematically changed by us to recreate the unity we once shared during the years of Jim Crow and the Civil Rights Movement. Do you know that we had so much unity back in the day? I'm old enough to remember the Civil Rights Movement. I'm young enough to identify with the millennials and the Gen Zs. I'm young enough. I can identify with at least 4 to 5 generations. That's the benefit I have of being the age that I am. And so I remember reading the Willie Lynch letter back in the 80s. And I've always wanted to understand how to combat his principles. And so God inspired me to write our own letter first. And then it developed into this book, Lynching, Lynchism. And so that's why I'm passionate about this subject and this book. Our color is the only thing we can say as a people we own, which can be used as a constant reminder of the bond it is to create among us, and the only thing that cannot be taken away from us. I don't care where we are, you cannot take our color away from us. You can't take that. Let's use it as a benefit to us. Don't let somebody smear who we are as a people. Don't let somebody smear us simply because of our color. Let's use our color to unite ourselves, to build one another up, to love one another. Just as easy as they recognized us in slavery, for hate, for usury, for servitude, let's use our identity, the color of our identity, to be our common bond, to bind us together so close till one can't fall without the other. Let's use it to bind us together as a positive. So, in an effort to sincerely bring about unity among African Americans, we must all have something in common and have a systematic way of maintaining the bond we create with this factor. Stop stumbling over your words, girl. There also must be a plan of action we are willing to formulate and put into action immediately and without fail to make our oneness real. Notice I said we must all have a part in this. Even if it's when you see your brother or sister on the street and you just say hello and smile, that will help to create unity, trust, break down envy, all of the principles that Willie Lynch set forth. We must all do this. There must also be a plan of action we are willing to formulate and put into action immediately without fail to make our oneness real. The commonality we must use is our heritage, culture, and most of all, our color. We stick out like a sore thumb. That should be a good thing. We should gravitate towards one another, not run from each other. We talked about that running in the last video, how we run from neighborhood to neighborhood, trying to find a better neighborhood. And it's always a white neighborhood that is the better neighborhood. Don't let that be said. Don't validate their superiority. We can create good neighborhoods. We have created good neighborhoods, just like they have. Gravitate towards those neighborhoods. Build the house that you want to see in those neighborhoods. Go to their neighborhoods. Pick out a house and tell your black contractor, this is the house I want you to build for me. It can be done. Let's be creative in gravitating towards one another. Let's be creative in loving one another. Let's be creative in uniting together. The commonality we must use is our heritage, culture, and most of all, our color. If you have your one drop, we can count you as one of our own and will treat you as such. This talks about the mulattoes, the biracials. You're black. You got one drop. That's what the principle was in slavery. If you got one drop of black blood, that means you're black. That's a powerful, powerful bloodline. to say it only takes one drop, but it takes 100% of white blood to make you white. Oh my God, that's powerful. That's powerful, you all. You got the most powerful blood in the world, because that one drop is more powerful than 100% of some other person's uh, blood. That's powerful. Let's turn this thing around to where it benefits us, to where we say we are independent of every other race. We don't need anybody to validate us. We don't need anybody to lead us. We don't need anybody to depend on but each other. We can get there. Let's do that. We must segregate ourselves, not just physically. This we should do because integration really, really hurt us in the long run. We found that out. And if I could stop right here and talk about the conversation that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and I believe it was Harry Belafonte had before Dr. King died. He said, you know, I think we are integrating into a burning house. And I believe what he meant by that is that we're messing up integrating into a race of people that hate us. I believe that's what he meant. I've never seen where Harry Belafonte had a conversation about the conversation he had with Dr. King. But that's the understanding that I get from it, is that he was saying we need to rethink this desegregation thing. We need to rethink this integration thing. We need to rethink this holding hands with one another thing. And I truly, truly agree with that, because we never healed as a people from slavery. We should have healed first, then introduced ourselves as a strong, united people to society. That way, nobody can break your spirit. I believe that desegregation should happen at adulthood. When I went to high school, it was a really, really bad situation. And I was wishing that adults would come back and say, is desegregation working? And I would have told them, no, it does not. Because when I went to high school, we played cards in class. We didn't, nobody made us learn anything. They just shuffled us on out. They gave us the minimum, bare minimum to just get us by. But the white kids, they counseled them on college prep. They did all of that for them, but they didn't do it for us. Now, that's my school that I went to. It might not be all of the other schools that other children went to, but the school I went to was Messick High School. And that actually happened. We had two good teachers. That was Mr. C. Stokes Jr. He taught us science, and Sergeant Mayfield, who was the ROTC sergeant. That's the only reason I took ROTC, because it was a black man teaching it. Had to take science. I was glad that Mr. Stokes, he always told us, have a nice weekend and go to church on Friday. He always told us that. We loved them and gravitated towards them because we could identify with them. The white teachers did the bare minimum to help you. I believe that's one of the reasons why I persevered to graduate early, so that I wouldn't have to be there another year. And so that's also the reason why I kept my sons in black schools. I wanted my sons to be protected. I thought that if I kept them around black people, they would be protected, and it worked. And it also worked to keep their level of self-esteem high without hating anybody. They get along with white people today. They don't hate white people. They are not, but they are not intimidated by white people as well. They have a level of self-esteem that only a Black identity can give. And so it just worked out wonderful the way it happened. Oh my, our 15 minutes has gone by so fast. Let me take just a few more minutes. uh, we must segregate ourselves in the spirit of our race. Our color, heritage, and culture must make it evident to us that we should, no, we must love, appreciate, and trust each other. We've got to do that. We've got to stop saying it and do it. We've got to come together. Stop saying it. I'm trying to teach us how to do it, just how to do it. And so the next video, I will be wrapping that up. I don't have much left of it. Then we're going to go right into the Lynch letter of what Willie Lynch said on to his slave owners that he was doing tours for, going plantation to plantation, his teachings. We're going to go over exactly what he said. We're going to dissect his letter, and we're going to talk about that letter. And after that, then we're going to talk about our own new letter, what we must say, how to combat his things. And so, as always, in parting, I want to offer Christ to you. If you have not accepted Jesus as Lord and Savior of your life, I offer him to you today, because Christ is the answer to broken hearts, broken homes, broken dreams, world's unrest, and every human problem. What you need, Christ has to offer. That's what Bishop J.O. Patterson Sr. said every Sunday night when I was growing up, that I went to his church. And so if you have not accepted him, I hope you will accept him as Lord and Savior of your life. And until the next video, I want you to be blessed. I want you to be black and beautiful. And I want you to be a blessing somehow to the Black community. Until the next time, I'll see you then.